so looking at our test review, please remember that this is laid out exactly like your test, and that you need to know your formulas and make sure we always write our measurements correctly. Now when we're doing volume here, the only thing I'm looking for is my formula, my numbers, and my answer. This shading that looks like it's on these problems, just ignore that. We're going to not worry about doing any shading, and we're going to pretend that shading is not even there. So when I start number 1, I'm going to write out my formula. So volume equals length times width times height. And then it gives me my numbers. All I'm going to do is plug them in. So volume equals, I can use 5 for my length. I can use 4 for my width. I can use 3 for my height. It doesn't really matter the order since we're multiplying here. So now I have volume equals 5 times 4 is 20, times 3 is going to give me 60 inches, and this is going to be to the 3rd power. So one of the tips that I have to remember that is if it has a V, make sure you write your 3. So if it has a V, make sure you write your 3. Alright, so for the second one, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to write out our formula, plug in our numbers, and write an answer. So volume equals length times width times height. Volume equals, we can do 12 times 11 times 20. And if you want to always make sure that up and down, that would be our height here because of how this is positioned. That's a great number to use for your H. So V equals 11 times 12 times 20 should give me 2,640 centimeters to the 3rd. Make sure, guys, if you're checking your answers and you get the wrong answer, just double check what you put in your calculator. If you are following along with this, please remember, I won't be there to do your test with you, so you need to make sure you can do these on your own. Always double checking what you type in your calculator. All right, so now for number 3, I have volume equals length times width times height. So I have V equals. Again, if I want to use that 2 as the height since it's going up and down, that would be a good idea. So I'm going to do my length. I'm going to let that be 1 2/3. My width, I'm going to do 2 7/8. And then for my height, I'm going to let it be the 2 that's going up and down. So V equals. Make sure when we're typing into the calculator, we're very careful. Just a reminder with these fractions, you know, you'll have these wonderful calculators here that have these awesome fraction buttons on them. So when I type that in, just to kind of demonstrate what that would look like, I'm going to do my 1, hit my fraction button, that ABC, 2, fraction button 3. So 1 2/3 times 2, fraction button 7, fraction button 8, times 2. It's not a fraction, so I just hit 2 by itself. All right, make sure we're using that fraction button correctly. And if you'll check your window up at the top, you can scroll back and forth to make sure that looks the same as mine. All right, put enter, and I end up with 9 7/12. Make sure we have our meters and our 3 because we have a V, so we need a 3. All right, just a reminder, remember that U on my calculator, that's just the calculator's way of writing a space, okay? So that's my 9 and then 7/12. All right, number 4, again, writing my formula, V equals LWH, V equals. All right, so I'm going to do my 5, my 24.3, and then my height, I'm going to let it be that up and down number again. So we're going to do 8.1. All right, V equals. Please be very careful with the decimals when you type that into your calculator. We should get 984.15 yards to the 3rd. Remember, if we have our V, we need a 3. All right, number 5. Number 5 is a word problem that says packing box is 5 meters long. So there's my L. 3/4 meters wide. There's my W. And 1.5 meters high. There's my H. What is the volume of the box? So I'm going to write my formula, V equals LWH, because it asks for the volume. V equals my length. It said long, so I'm going to put 1 5/7 in the correct place. 3/4 it said wide, so that has to be next. And then 1 1/2. V equals. All right, again, I know some of us are still having trouble with these calculators and the fractions, so I'm going to show you again how to type that in. So 1, fraction button 5, fraction button 7, times, when I put in the 3/4, if there's not a number in front, I don't need the fraction button in front because there's nothing there. So I'm just going to hit 3, fraction button, and 4. It should just be the fraction in the middle. That's the only time you need the button, okay? And then I have 1. This one does have a number in front. Oops, hit times. Times 1, fraction button 1, fraction button 2. So now I can see there's my number in front, my separation, my number on top, my separation, and the number on bottom. All right, when I type that in, I see that I have 1 as my whole number and then 13/14 as a fraction. So I have 1 and 13 over 14, and that says m next to everything, so I'm going to put meters to the third. If it has a v, put your 3. All right, last one, number 8, swimming pool. Well, last one like this, I'm sorry. What is the volume? So it says feet wide, feet long, feet deep. So when you're talking about deep, that is going to be a height because it's going up and down. It is going down, but we're still going to just say 7 feet. Because if I talk about how much water is in a pool, I would never give a negative number. So we're going to use that as a positive number for the 7 because the water is going to go down into the pool. All right, so volume equals length times width times height. V equals 37 was wide, 90 is long. Oh, I just wrote those backwards, didn't I? Look, I think I got tricky on you there, and I kind of tricked myself. So let me fix my work right here. So it says feet wide, so my 90 is going to be my long, so that needs to be first, 90. W is next, so that's 37. And then feet deep would be 7. Ooh, almost got in trouble there. Okay, volume equals 23,310 feet cubed. So feet with a 3. All right. Don't let that fool you. Be careful about that again because it said wide. That's going second where the W is. Because that says long, it went first because that's where my L is. All right, just making sure we're using those formulas in the correct way. All right, numbers 7 and 8. These are problems I've seen a lot of questions about today, finding the missing dimension. All right, we did one like this actually on Monday. Monday, we did our math workshop. We copied it off the front board. And Monday, number 2, was finding the missing dimension. So that's a good problem to look at if you do need a little bit more guidance than these two. Find the missing dimension. When it tells me what V is, guys, V means I'm talking about volume. We have to write our formula. I've seen so many people today come up to me and say, Ms. Sawyer, I don't know what to do. And they'll walk up and they don't even have their formula written down. That formula tells me what to do, so we need the formula. So I write my formula. Since it tells me what V is, that also tells me to draw my line. All right, so now that I have the line and I know what V is, my 540 can go right underneath my V. Keep my equal sign. And now I'm going to look at my other letters. So it says L. Well, I can see there's actually an L on this box, so I'm going to leave L the way it is, just like that. If you want to put parentheses around these, you can. Then it says W. Now W, I'm going to use that as 12. And then my height, I'm going to use as 5 since it's going up and down. Okay? And we have to have parentheses around the 12 and the 5, so I just put it around everything. All right, my next step, guys, that 12 and 5 that's next to each other right there, I need to go ahead and multiply those. I'm going to put them together. So I have 540 equals, not really doing anything to L, so it's just going to stay there. 12 times 5 gives me 60. All right. Now that I have 60 and L by itself, this is multiplication. This is our one-step equation. It's going back to algebra that we did back way before Christmas. The opposite of multiplying is to divide, so we're dividing by 60. 540 divided by 60 will give me 9 equals, my 60s here go away, and I'm left with just L. So we found the missing dimension. L is 9, but we need a measurement. 5 yards, 12 yards, this would be 9 yards. Please remember, guys, if it has a V, you need your 3, but there is not a V here, so it's just the 9 yards by itself. All right, we're going to look at number 8. Now, number 8, I'm going to have to probably squish it a little bit because I don't have as much space over here. So I'm going to do V equals my L, W, H. I'm going to draw my line. All right, so I have 53,165. You can tell I'm writing a little small there. L, we can say that that's 31. If you want to use that as your width, that's fine. You can use 35 as your length. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to do 31, and I'm going to do 35. And then for my height, it has an H, so I'm just going to leave H alone. All right, so that gives me 53,165. That's not changing. This 31 and 35 that's together, we're going to multiply those. When I multiply those, I get 1,085. And then we still have our H. Now when I want to get my h by itself, this is multiplication. The opposite is division. We're wanting to move that to the opposite side, so we have to do the opposite. Right? 53,165 divided by 1,085 is going to give me 49. And I keep my equal sign. That 1,000 goes away. I'm left with just the h. All right, again, I have 35 inches, 31 inches. My h would be 49 inches. All right, making sure we have our measurement there. Okay, we're going to flip that over onto the back. On the back, it says to name each figure and to find the surface area. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to name each figure. Guys, if you try to do this kind of like name the figure, surface area, name the figure, surface area, chances are we might leave one out because I know that sometimes we're doing math, we might get in a little hurry. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to name every single figure, then I'll worry about my surface area. So my first figure, I have a bunch of triangles. In fact, there's only triangles. So I know it's going to be triangular. Triangular. And these triangles that are going around the edge are going to fold up to a point. So it's also going to be a pyramid. So that one is a triangular pyramid. Circling that so it's easy for my teacher to find. All right. Moving over to 10, it's a bunch of rectangles and it's only rectangles. So it is rectangular. And since it only has rectangles, they're not going to be able to make one point at the top. So that means this must be a prism. Circling that so my teacher can find it. All right. Number 11, naming that one. They're all squares. They're all the same. So this one is a cube. We like these because they're easy and easy to name and easy to spell. All right, now number 12, we can see my triangles, but there's no way they're going to make one point. So the triangles are important. So it's going to be triangular. Triangular. All right, but since those triangles aren't going to make a point, this is going to end up being a prism because it's going to be like a tube that's in the shape of a triangle. So that would be a prism. All right, and then my last one. All right, you can see there's not a line here, so you have to be careful. I see a lot of people forget to name this on the test. Hey, guess what? It goes to number 13. Guess what number 13 looks like? Here you go. All right, so we need to make sure that we name this carefully. Those triangles going around it are going to make it a pyramid because they're going to make it come to a point, which means this bottom shape would be the bottom of my pyramid, which is a rectangle. So that's going to give me the shape of the pyramid. So it's rectangular. Rectangular, sorry, trying to spell and talk at the same time, pyramid. I'm going to circle that so my teacher can find my answer easily. All right, now we're going to go back up to the top and find my surface area. When I look at this shape, all of these triangles are going to be the same. So I only have really one shape here. Every single shape is the exact same, so I only have one formula to do. So I'm going to number my work over here. This is going to be shape 1. And my formula is area equals base times height divided by 2, because that's what a triangle is. All right, so my base. Now, guys, we got to be careful about this because on this triangle, it says 20 over here. All right, but that 20 would match this bottom. It's going to be equilateral. For everything to be equal, those are equilateral. So this is also going to be 20 feet down here at the bottom on the side. So my base is 20. My height is 10. We only have 2 numbers to work with, so that kind of makes this easy to figure out. So area equals 20 times 10 divided by 2 is going to give me 100 feet squared. Now be careful because that's just the area of one triangle. So remember, I have 4 of them. So we can do 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 100. We can add those up. Or if you just want to do 100 times 4, you can do that as well. All right, but when I add those up, I do get 400 feet squared. And now this answer down here is my surface area. So I have that my surface area, and that should be a 2. All right, surface area is 400 feet squared. Now remember, because this is flat now, since we're talking about the flat part, it's with a 2 and not a 3. If it is 3D, we use a 3. When it's the flat part, it's squared with a 2. All right, looking at number 10, we have a bunch of rectangles, but they're all a little bit different. So like I can tell these 2 right here match on the side. So I'm going to number those number 1 because to me those are the easiest ones to see that match. Then I can tell these 2 are kind of skinnier than the other ones. So let's do 2 and 2, and then 3 for my larger rectangles. So I have 3 different rectangles here that all are going to actually appear twice. So I'm going to start with shape 1, which says area equals length times width. So area equals. Now if I look at shape 1, all right, I can see that this line right here is going to be 1.3, which means the other line that matches is going to be 1.3. Now we said that these two shapes, these two ones are the same. So if the top and bottom of this are 1.3, the top and bottom right here are also going to be 1.3. So if we want to write that number in, we can. Just kind of showing those colors because I think they're easier for you to see. Alright, so now from here, let's look at our 4.3. So our 4.3 is kind of on that same rectangle. So my 4.3 is this line right here, so that's going the up and down. Now we can already tell 1.3 and 4.3 is what we need. But I'm just going to kind of show where the other ones would match. So that's also going to match 4.3 there. 4.3 here would go all the way across for that little part. You can see that those match. And then up here, we could also see my 4.3s. And I can go all the way across with that one as well. So just if you wanted to go ahead and add in those numbers, I can put my 4.3 here and my 4.3 here. Guys, you do not have to do this. I just know some people are still having trouble figuring out where the numbers go. So that gives me 1.3 times 4.3. So area equals. When I multiply my 1.3 times my 4.3, that's going to give me 5.59 inches squared. All right, shape 2, same shape, rectangle, area equals length times width. All right, so now I'm looking at shape 2. Now remember, guys, I want you to think about this 1.3 up here, and we've talked about how when these shapes fold up together, those two lines are actually going to match. So my 1.3 would actually appear here as well. I'm just going to show that with that yellow line where those fold up and match. All right, so I can see this line is the same because it's on the same rectangle. All right, so when I look at shape 2, I'm using the 1.3, and I need to know this dotted line here. Well, if I look all the way down, well, here's a dotted line. It's the exact same size. And on that dotted line, we're seeing that it's 8 inches. Well, that 8 inches would match with the one above and the dotted line above that. And if you wanted to, you could also fill in the ends. All right, so if you want, you can write in your 8.1 here. Nope, just 8 inches, my bad, not 8.1, just making up numbers. All right, so there's where we see our 8 inches. So on 2, I'm going to use 1.3 and 8. So A equals 1.3 times 8. You could also multiply 8 times 1.3. It gets you the same thing. So 8 and 1.3 is going to give me 10.4 inches squared. All right, and let's see if I can fit 3 over here too. A equals LW. A equals. So now I need to look at shape 3. Well, guys, because I've written my other numbers in there along with this, I can see my 8 up above. There's the 8. And then I know my 4.3 because it matched here. If you didn't write that in, remember you can look all the way over here to the side where it gave it to you. And that 4.3 would carry over to this side, so then it would also be on this larger rectangle as well. So I'm going to use 8 times 4.3, or again, you can do 4.3 times 8. It does not matter. Okay, so A equals 8 times 4.3 is going to give me 34.4 inches squared. All right, so now that we have shape 1, shape 2, and shape 3, we need to add them up. Now I want us to be careful. My shape 1 says 5.59, but I didn't just have shape 1 here, I also had it over here, so I should have 2 of those in my work. So I'm going to have 5.59 again. Now I'm going to do shape 2, which was 10.4. And remember, there were 2 of those, the one at the top and the one kind of down here in the middle. So I'm going to do 10.4 again. And then we have shape 3. So remember, we also had 2 of those rectangles. So I'm going to do 34.4 twice as well. All right, and then we're going to add those up. Please remember, guys, we want to make sure that we're writing this because if I count up now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I have 6 shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I also have 6 numbers. It's just a quick way to check that work. So I end up with 100.78 inches squared, and this is my surface area, and I'm going to circle that. Make sure if you're going to write your essay, that is a capital S and a capital A. All right. Number 11, and it's getting a little late, getting a little hungry. All right, so let's get going on this. So here we have a cube. All right, we like cubes because they're really easy since there's only one shape. They're all the exact same square. So I'm going to just show that by writing ones in all of them because they match. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do shape 1, which says area equals length times width. So area equals. Now you'll notice it only gives me one number here. But on a square, if the bottom is 5, the side is also 5. So I'm just going to do 5 times 5. So my area is going to be 25 yards squared. All right, so that's great, but that's only one box. Now remember, there are 6 of them. So like we did on number 9, we could write 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25. We could write that 6 times. Or, guys, I'm going to use the other option where we said we could just do times 6. All right, I'm just going to come down here with that answer. So 25 times 6 should give me 150 yards squared. And that was my surface area that equals that. So surface area equals 150 yards squared. And guys, you can see I drew my arrow here not because I need to know where I'm going to write it, but because the person looking at my paper needs to know, hey, this 150 came from that work. And when I say the person grading your paper, I mean me. I will be grading your paper. Please show me where your answer is coming from. All right. Number 12. Now, we looked at one like this today in our math workshop. We looked at it today together. And there's one on your review today. So chances are you will probably see a shape that looks similar to this on your test tomorrow. All right, so this is what I want us to be careful about. All right, so you can see right here this side is 14 and this side is 13. Because of these different lengths, even though these rectangles look like they match, these numbers are really close together and it tells me that they do not match. So this rectangle I'm going to number 1 and this one I'm going to number 2 because they are 2 different rectangles. This one is obviously bigger, so it would be 3. Since this is a triangular prism, those triangles, that's what's making my shape. Those are going to have to match so that we get a consistent shape. So those are both going to be number 4 so that my shape matches all the way down. All right. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to do shape 1. So shape 1 was a rectangle, A equals LW. Now remember, guys, how you number these, it doesn't matter. You might not have done number 1 up here. You might have said, I want to get my triangles over with, and numbered them 1. As long as you have all of your numbers here, they can be in a different order. All right? So let's see. Shape 1, I have length and width. So I know I have 14 right here, so that's good. All right, but I need to know that dotted line. Now remember, I can look at the bottom. There's 19 feet, which means this bottom line over here is also going to be 19 feet. And you can see I just wrote it in this time, so I'm not getting confused by all the colors. All right, so the colors help. I did that for some people. I'm not going to use colors on this one just to see, just for the other people that the colors maybe throw off. All right, so length times width, 14 and 19. So 14 times 19. So my area equals 266 feet squared. Okay, area equals. Oh, this is shape 2. Ooh, let me organize my work, guys. That might be helpful. All right, so shape 2, again, a rectangle, area equals length times width, area equals. All right, I can see my 19, I can see my 13. Guys, it helps if you write that number sometimes, because this time I didn't even have to look for it. There it is, 19 and 13. So I'm going to do 19 times 13. Area equals 247 feet squared. All right, shape 3, my last shape is also a rectangle. Not my last shape, but my last rectangle, okay, is obviously a rectangle. That was a little redundant as well. All right, so if I look at shape 3, I have the 19, but this is where we've had a little bit of confusion. How do I know this side? Remember, this is when we have to think about how they fold. So, like, remember, these two sides will fold together, so I also have a 15 here. 15 feet. All right, and while we're at it, remember, these two are also going to fold together. So my 14 would also be here. So if you wanted more numbers on that triangle, which we'll need in a minute, all right, remember, these all fold up, okay? So my sides fold up, which is why we have different measurements. So here we have our 15. Sorry, I'm rambling. All right, so 15 and 19 are going to be my numbers here. Area equals 15 times 19. So area equals 15 times 19 is going to give me 285 feet squared. All right, we still have to do shape 4. Whew, this one's getting long. Shape 4, it's a triangle. So area equals base times height divided by 2. So area equals. Now guys, I've got to be careful on this triangle. If you look closely, you can see there's only one right angle. It's right there. So I have to use that 13 and that 14. 15 on the triangle is slanted. Guys, we've talked about this in class before. Can I lean on the wall to figure out my height? No, we got to stand straight up. So we have to use 13 and we have to use 14. So my area here, I'm using my base, 13, my height, 14, divided by 2. So my area on that triangle is going to equal 91 feet squared. Whew, that's a lot of work. We did the hard part. So now that the hard stuff is over, let's do the easy part. We're going to add it up. So I have shape 1 is 266. Now I want to double check, is there another 1 anywhere on this shape? I only see 1 once, so I only write my answer once. Shape 2, I only see it once, so I only need shape 2's answer once. Shape 3 is only on here once, so I only need 285 once. But shape 4, if I look at that, shape 4 is on here 2 times. So I need to write 91, not once, but twice. So we're writing the 91 twice because it's on there twice, all right? So now I'm going to add them all up. When I add them all up, I get 980 feet squared. So my surface area equals 980 feet squared. All right, last problem. Woohoo! Getting close to finished. We have 3 different shapes here, so we obviously have the rectangle in the middle. It's the only rectangle. Now, if you look, because the top and the bottom of this rectangle are the same, that means the top triangle is going to match the bottom triangle. And since my sides are the same, my sides are going to match each other. So I actually end up with 3 different shapes here. We have a rectangle, 2 triangles, and 2 triangles. All right, y'all done a really awesome job with that in class today, the people who got to it. So area equals length times width. So this is my rectangle that I'm doing, which says 14 and 2. So 14 times 2. So my area equals 28 centimeters squared. All right, shape 2. We have our triangle, so I'm going to do area equals base times height divided by 2. Area equals. Now guys, be really careful here. This problem actually did trick Miss Donahue today. She didn't realize that these were all different because of the rectangle. So be really careful. The other thing we have to be careful of, guys, is the base. This line going across the bottom is obviously going to be 14. So if you wanted to write it up here, you could. So there's my bottom line, 14, my base. Now my height, do I want to use the line going up and down or the one that's leaning? Think about how we tell how tall we are. We've got to go up and down. So I'm going to use 14 and 6 and then divide by 2. So area equals 14 times 6 divided by 2 is 42 centimeters squared. All right, last one, shape 3. All right, for shape 3, again, it's a triangle. Area equals base times height divided by 2. So area equals, my base is going to be 2. So here's where I'm getting the 2, and here you can see that 2 would have to be on the same length measurement. All right, so I'm going to use 2 as my base. My height here, again, making sure I'm going straight up and down, and you can see my right angle there, is going to be 6 divided by 2. So area equals 2 times 6 divided by 2, which is 6 centimeters squared. I want to point something out, guys. This gave us a 10. Did we use a 10 anywhere in this work? No, guys, that was a distractor. That was like to fool you. We didn't need it at all. All right, so remember, stick to your guns. Work it the way you know. Use your right angle. If it gives you an extra number, that's not a big deal, okay? So now we need to add them up. So I have shape 1, which is 28, and it's only there once, so I'm just going to do 28 once. Shape 2, which was 42, we can see it over here. Now shape 2, I do have it there twice, so I'm going to write 42 twice. Shape 3 is 6. Again, I have shape 3 twice, so I'm going to write 6 twice. When I add that up, I get 124 centimeters squared, and that is my surface area. All right, I know it's kind of over to the side, but we can tell where all of our work is. All right. Guys, I really hope this video helped. I hope everyone took some time to watch it. I hope we all do extremely well on our test tomorrow. Good luck. Make sure you take your time and you can do this.